it's kind of wonderful as you're about to listen to my vulnerability podcast. I'm just kind of aware. I mean, I could never show up without makeup on, ever. And when I think back to the days of me being a model or a dancer, I was so concerned about being pretty enough, good enough, sexy enough, all the enoughs. And how wonderful it is to engage in a practice where I value transparency, intimate connection, authenticity, honesty, so deeply that it allows my need to look good to dissolve. And it makes me feel beautiful in my nakedness, even though I'm not totally naked. Emotional nakedness. And how it literally invites the vulnerability of others. And it's brave. Because I certainly have been rejected. I've been deeply made wrong for my vulnerability. I've been hurt in such an owie way. And so, why try again? Why open up again? Why risk again? And I know I'm gonna get hurt again. It's not like I have this fantasy that I'll somehow be able to strategize it. I'll never get hurt again, or I'll be able to figure out who's gonna be a fuckhead and I'll stay with them. I'll do my best. There's no way through this world without pain and pleasure. And so it all comes back to this deep, intimate relationship with myself, that even in the face of rejection, I won't reject myself. Even in the face of complete uncertainty, unknown, things are crashing, I got my back. And my God, it allows me to rest in a way I've never rested, receive in a way I've never received, appreciate the smallest things, and I believe be a benevolent presence when I have the honor of connecting with people. So thanks for listening to this episode around vulnerability. May it inspire your deeper vulnerability, because I truly believe that's a strength and it feels good in your bones. Yeah, I love you. Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello and welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations, Season 11, Soul Medicine. Even though I have the same green curtain this whole year, I'm coming to you from South Carolina on a lake, happy as a pig in shit. And the theme of this podcast is around vulnerability and how that can lead, it's not a weakness, it's a strength, lead to our badass bravery and our true deep sense of belonging. So let's start with the definition from our dear heroine, Brene Brown. And she defines vulnerability as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. But vulnerability is not a weakness. It's our most accurate measure of courage. And she also says about bravery, being brave is feeling scared or awkward, accepting those feelings and moving forward anyway. And so she defines belonging as being part of something bigger, but also having the courage to stand alone and to belong to yourself above all else. And in that case, belonging is actually the opposite of fitting in. And so when we're afraid of not fitting in, afraid of rejection, all of this is actually an impetus for us to belong deeper to ourselves. And from that wholeness, choose a community, a partnership to belong to that's a reflection of our own inner sense of belonging. I think back building my business. I started being a coach, I think officially in 2005. And I built my business on the tenets of vulnerability. I wanted to be, I didn't want to be a guru. I wanted to be somebody real, maybe somebody a few steps ahead who's done the work, but certainly nobody better. And I never wanted to hide all of the hot mess wobbly shit that I've been through, so that we could all level the playing field. Like, we all go through crazy shit. And yet when we hide, of which I've definitely hidden, when we hide it, the shame just debilitates us. And I wanted to create a business where I'm so grateful that I've created a coaching practice and a podcast and 6 books, and I lead retreats, and I've been interviewed, my God, almost 1,000 times. And I really believe the reason why I'm still in business is I believe people crave truth, crave transparency, crave somebody who's willing to be vulnerable, because it makes them feel safe to be who they are too. And so I'm so grateful to provide emotional safety for my clients. Just last night, I'm thinking of the inner circle call and how one of the women wasn't quite ready to share what was going down. She just wanted to be in the environment of safety, emotional safety, just to feel and not be fixed and be enveloped by our non-judgmental love. I believe emotional safety is created by people, putting down their walls, being real, sharing what's really going on, seeking to understand, not seeking to be right in a conversation, and certainly no sense of judging or accusing or justifying. Because when we feel safe and secure, comfortable and free to express ourselves without fear of rejection or judgment, we're able to experience this deep, vulnerable, intimate connection. It's exquisite. It's exquisite. Yet, as many of you know, I'd been seeking safety on the outside my whole friggin' life. Hadn't found it on the inside yet. And it certainly wasn't going well with this miswired seeking of safety on the outside. I had no idea that these wounds from childhood had created this level 4 trauma hypervigilance. And so that hypervigilance that kept spinning was, the program was, where's the next abuser to master surviving? Where's the next abuser to master surviving? That's all it said. That's all it did. That's the only message it sent up to the universe. And so the universe, being the feedback loop that it is, gave me the next abuser to survive. And I was really good at it. I attracted them, whether they were, not every single lover, but certainly last lover for sure, and many others. Some coaches, certainly not the coaches I have now, but there were inappropriate coaches that I attracted. Not all of my investors, but some of my investors. One just walked off with, $140K. And he was also a past client. So it was definitely a sense of deep betrayal. Some of these people have been abusive, and I was attempting to find them, heal, fix, change them so that they'd be nice to me and I'd feel safe and good enough. And so over and over, I would do this program. And it was debilitating. And I was so ashamed. And my nervous system was just going, that I hid everything that was happening behind closed doors. I mean, sometimes I lied. I faked it. I withheld. I hid in shame. And I just kept compromising myself. And my nervous system, I would just collapse, and I would just keep befriending my enemy with a good attitude and not let anybody know. And it wasn't until this very last relationship, where it ended in him being, arrested, that I said, okay, I've tried everything. What else is there to try? Because this game is changing now. And so I kept doing the work. I kept integrating. And over time, I began to find the embodiment of emotional safety within my body. The quality of people in my life shifted. All of the people that were happy to use me, that I was happy to let them use me, I could see now. It was a blind spot before. Now I could call it out. I had the ability to be embodied and say, no more. And they left. And the people that were truly in alignment and valued me stayed. And the more and more I got safe on the inside, the more and more courageous, la cour, the heart, the more courageous I felt I could be in my body, keep my heart open, be courageous, and be vulnerable. And while I definitely prefer people to be kind to me and supportive to me. I still run into the royal asshole and, blaming dickhead from time to time. And I don't react like I used to. I don't get hooked. I don't have to justify. I don't have to change. I don't get drawn in by that behavior like it's somehow my job to change them, save them. I can just let it go. I can change direction. I can sit in the fire. I can have my own back. I can rest in the alignment of my truth. I can feel safe within my being and my body. There is this, not like an overspinning mind or a over like to a fault giving heart or a shut down pelvis, disassociated. None of that's happening anymore. It's almost like this harmony from my hips to my heart to my divine mind. There's an alignment that I've never friggin' felt ever. And it gives me the capacity to know what I know, speak my truth, let the rest go, and surrender my life and my business, my relationships, everything. Surrender it all to the divine. Because when I'm this aligned within myself, I'm open to be used by the divine. And it feels safe, feels exquisite. It feels like even if it's a shit show, I'm good. I still might not love it, but I don't freak out anymore. I don't give away my time, energy, money, resources, body anymore. And I did for decades. I'm reminded even one of the last times I was tested in this, it was the last day of court. Court went on for like this last, not the 12 years of custody battle court. No, the criminal assault went on for a good year and a half. And I remember the last day of court was restitution. And I had the courage to ask for financial support because I'd spent, at least, I only asked for 20, but I'd spent at least $35,000 in trauma therapy and related modalities to heal the PTSD from the assault. And in court, I was, from my point of view, ridiculed, blamed, accused of lying, mocked. It was such a disgusting example of the worst of humanity. And it was so awful. It was like, is this real? It was so awful. I couldn't even believe it was actually happening. But at one point I sort of had this, when you're like an eagle and you lift above the situation, you can see like the bigger picture. I was like, oh, I get it. I get that it was still a thread of my program left that was there, actually believing because he pleaded guilty, he was sorry. No, he pleaded guilty because the facts were he was guilty. He wasn't sorry. I was hoping daddy, I was hoping the other abusers would somehow actually be sorry and make up for the damage done. Nope, not in this situation. He wasn't sorry. And if anything, he was even more shut down or judgmental, probably because of the shame of having to plead guilty, maybe even disassociate. Maybe he wasn't even in his body. And yet for me, that was such a gift to go, oh, there's one more thread where I still want the outside to be different to feel better on the inside. I want someone to apologize and make up for the damage done so I feel justified or worthy. I don't need that. I thought I did, but I don't. I don't need to be agreed with. I don't need someone to make up for the damage done. I don't even need to be understood. I don't need any of it to know who I am and be at rest and move on vulnerably and bravely. So even that was disgusting and awful. But again, because I do the work and I integrate all of that, I was like, oh, great. This is even the next level of power where I don't need anyone, anything, any circumstance, any apology, any understanding even. I don't even need to be seen or heard or understood to know who I am, to have become the one. But as I asked in court to be supported, and I showed up vulnerably and I showed up bravely to be honored, that request as an energetic request to the universe did not fall on deaf ears of the divine, of the universe, because I also showed up vulnerably in the realm of dating. And even before court had completed, I started online dating. One of my many wonderful coaches said, I think this is a perfect time because you like to have it all together. You like to overgive. What if you just showed up as your hot mess self as your magnificent, amazing self, as your integrated self, and just be authentic. Why don't you actually try being vulnerable? Why don't you actually let the universe support you back? Because the program, I would support everybody else to my detriment. Why don't you right yourself and let the universe match you in the form of the divine masculine? And so, even though I'd almost gone bankrupt, even though I didn't know where I was going to live next, even though I was actually still in court while I put myself online dating, even though my son has not still reached out to me, I put my profile up there. It was so risky. It was so scary. It was tremendously awkward. But I'd integrated so much. I wanted someone to love me now, not once everything was better. I wanted someone to see me, honor me, get me, match me, meet me now, not when I had all the bells and whistles put back together. And so I thought it would be a little vulnerable, for the sake of this vulnerability podcast, to read you my online profile. Because this was really one of my most vulnerable expressions to God, to the universe, to the divine, to my future beloved. And it was a practice of, can I love myself and can I be worthy, willing to send out my Cupid's arrow into the heart of my special person, even though I felt pretty much one of my most broken down, but broken open, vulnerable self. And so here we go with my online profile. Hang on. All right. So it begins. Thank you for honoring me with your precious time to read my heart's truth. Grab a drink, buckle up, because I got a little verbose, but this matters. We matter. After decades of growth opportunities, I've tasted deep sorrow, forgiveness, cultivated empowerment, discovered self-worth, irrespective of my accomplishments. And now I surrender. I release my ego will to divine will. Have your way with me, life. I'm yours. When I did this, things got very still inside, as if getting off a hamster wheel. What really matters became self-evident: love, play, and partnership. I choose to surrender into the divine masculine, pour my radiance, beauty, touch, joy, love, sexy, dorky, exuberant aliveness, quiet, intuitive knowing, and sacred wisdom into your world. We are better together. Mutual respect, doing the right thing when no one's looking, giving from fullness, receiving, even if it cracks our hearts wide open, awakening the best within one another for our own fulfillment and as a gift to the world. You value and practice monogamy, love to protect and provide, listen with an open heart, know who you are, do the work, have solid men's reflection and challenge. Don't rely on me to keep you on purpose any more than I don't rely on you to make me feel safe, although our natural essences somehow provide this. Sourcing our own worth, security, drive, and happiness from within while having each other's back. Believing in one another, honoring each other's tender parts. We validate each other's experience, even if we think the other is batshit crazy. We honor each other over being right. We experience over material, having material things. You're tidy, yet not OCD. In shape, but not over the top. Into fine wine, scotch, breweries, but not addicted. Honor plant medicine as a path of depth, not a path of escape. Know when to pull me in, slowly dance me open, a firm hand in the small of my back, swaying me until I exhale, soften. The flow of love moves through my hips, proud that I am a well-fucked woman, aching to know the universe through our lovemaking. You value depth over comfort, moved by my courage and vulnerable heart. Taking the high road with my son, you honor my heart's pain. And you look forward to being a beneficial masculine presence when he returns. You may have adult children, grateful for how my feminine essence blesses them. I have a daily sunrise, sunset ritual of meditation, gratitude, connection, and listening. I, in capitals, love paddleboarding, lakes, mountains, eclectic communities. I have an 18-year-old cat named Muffin. My 20-year-old lives with his dad. I've been an entrepreneur since my early 20s. I move my body daily. I work with coaches, shamans, energy workers, somatic practitioners. I'm not the best cook. Just a few yummy things I can whip up, mostly vegan, yet I love a dripping burger from time to time. Not great with numbers, accounting, or technology. I overextended myself trying to build 2 companies at once. I have some savings and investments. I don't own a home right now. I say what's true with as much grace as possible. I take care of my clients, colleagues, direct my staff. Sometimes I work Saturdays. I'm clear on what I want, yet I would adore it if you loved to plan, execute, even surprise me. I'm affectionate, appreciative, optimistic, honest, deep, alive with infectious energy, a goddess of the people, a humbled messenger, regularly wobbly and occasionally a hot mess. We talk for hours, sit in silence, or give each other space. Our sense of humors align, bodies match, smells weave, missions complement each other. We're fascinated by what we learn from one another. We are a stand for each other's ascension, bravely ask for what we need, receiving a yes, no, or maybe with grace. We need not agree to understand and respect one another. We own our shit, clean up our messes, never intend to hurt the other, make up for the damage done if we do. You're in wonder that I'm by your side. I'm the luckiest woman in the galaxy that you're by mine. If I cry for days that you found me, know that they are happy tears. Claim me. Let's do sacred partnership and kiss for days. As I read that to you, I fought back the tears a couple times just to finish it. But what's so amazing to me as I read this to you now, that's us. That's us. It worked. I met him right away. He read my profile apparently 4 times. He knew I was the one. Our first date was a Zoom date. And within a week, he came to visit me. He drove 6 hours to visit me. And he knew right away that I was the one. For me, I was still in the last legs of my program that was not worthy enough or able to receive a king, more attracted to wounded kings still. And so I chose to keep dating several men for about a month, 5 weeks or so, because something was still in the way. And I was committing to resolving it though. So after, you know me, after like 20 years of doing the work and the most deeply focused healing trauma work with PSI over the last year and a half, the last of my wounded trauma program fell. I finally felt true belonging to me. And it was the culmination of working with 4 of my amazing coaches and facilitators over that 6-week period of time when I first started dating this man, that put all the pieces into place so that this program could dissolve. And I could not just see that he was a king, I could receive him. This is different. Programs don't allow us to receive even what we ask for. So I had to belong to me in sacred partnership above all else in order to surrender to this great man in sacred partnership and rest into that with him. Intimacy always is an inside job. Everything in the way of belonging to ourselves is some form of trauma that disconnects our body, our mind, and our soul, and thus literally repels the very connection that we desire. So in my response to my intention to become the one, right, to find the one and awaken the one, all these layers came up while dating him. Layers came up and I integrated them. Layers of shame, pain, sorrow. The first of being a topless dancer in Japan in my 20s, that was still held as shame throughout my body until I integrated that and felt spacious, free, and clear. And then next was my mind. There was still this looping in my mind, from people that had betrayed me. How could you? How could you? How could you? And as I integrated this horrific, headache, energy in my head, once it integrated, there was this goddess nature that arose within me and my mind got very still. Then it went down deeper from the mind to the heart. And there was such painful heartbreak, sorrow, hopelessness in my chest, in my ribs, in my heart, in my back, this devastating sadness that I had never actually slowed down to feel all the way of being let down by protectors who turned into predators. And when I felt through that level of unspeakable sorrow, in my heart. This dragon nature from my lower back up through the back of my heart, out my arms, this dragon nature with magnificent wings arose. I felt like fucking unstoppable. And then the integration went deeper into my body, into my solar plexus, into my stomach. And there was such furious rage in there. And I had never been able to integrate how much I actually, this energy in my stomach, wanted to hurt my abusers back. It wanted to kill them. I couldn't integrate this killing energy because that's not politically correct, but it was in there. Oh, it was rageful. It was like at least 60, 90 seconds of like murderous rage. And I felt through it. I felt through it, and it was coming out my arms and out my legs and out my screaming and out my gut, just so, so tense. And when it finally integrated, it was this beautiful cat-like goddess, Sekhmet, Egyptian goddess. And from this deepest place of hatred, she just stood there. She didn't say a word. She wasn't like overpowering and don't you, how dare you. She was just still, just her gaze was like, don't fuck with me. So powerful. And then the integration went deeper down into the deepest place of self-hatred, self-loathing, self-abuse, which was in my vagina, my womb, my creative sacred core, my pussy. My pussy had been blamed for all this abuse that I had gone through. Like, you made me do this. You like this. Don't tell anyone. Like, and I had taken on their shaming and shamed myself. And my vagina felt deserving of all of the punishment that I went through. It was awful and vile to truly feel how much I hated myself, that I took on all of that shame and shamed and hated myself. It was awful to truly feel the level of self-hatred within my vagina. But as I did so, and as you feel something, you integrate it. If you resist it, it grows. If you feel through, it will shift and change. And then this part of my vagina woke up, and she was this like indigenous First Nations, like medicine woman, this crone. She had this crazy gray curly hair sticking out in all directions. And she said nothing. Oh, she was potency itself. And now she lives magically in my vagina. And so this energetic standing on my own alignment, this is what has happened through the support of my numerous coaches and practitioners. And you know what happened during these journeys, these coaching sessions, these PSI sessions, these energetic integration sessions? You know who was energetically standing? I don't know why to my left, but to my left through all of this? My man. Not physically, energetically. I could feel his presence all the time. And he was witnessing me. If I needed protection, he was willing to step in, but he was just standing there. He wasn't fixing me. He was like shoulder to shoulder with me. And he was right there with me. So I didn't bypass my growth. He was with me as I grew. He was standing beside me as I grew energetically. It was amazing. And so all of the program that would be attracted to men who would fix me or I would fix, all of that program fell. And I was actually able to receive his nobility, his king, his partnership into my being. It was stunning, absolutely phenomenal. I remember calling him after one of my journeys and saying, honey, you were there during the last 6-hour journey I was just on. It was intense. And you stood vigil the whole time. And he was like, that's so crazy. My tennis got canceled tonight. And I was out in the backyard and I was writing poetry, thinking of you, looking at the stars, thinking we are connected in the cosmos. And I'm like, we were on this other dimension. And I chose to be exclusive with him. I chose to let him in all the way. And that's when I had my first vaginal orgasm of my 53 years with my man. Because as I began all of this work since the assault and the last 20 years, all of this work I've ever done, I didn't understand that my vagina was numb, that I was disassociated out of my hips this whole time. And when she came back online, initially, I remember I was actually taking Kim Anami's Well Fucked Woman course at the time, and we were asked to do a lot of self-pleasuring. And when I did, I connected with my vagina from numbness into a sorrow that I had never felt and integrated. My vagina was so sad. She so ached for noble penetration. And I was there's so many tears, unprocessed tears, that I literally called one of my Allana Pratt method coaches, Christina, and I asked her to do a dyad with me. And I just sobbed. It was a good hour back and forth. And she just received me. There was unintegrated, massive sorrow of how my sweet vagina just wanted noble penetration. And then it was after that I was able to have my first vaginal orgasm with my man. And we literally make love. I thought I'd made love before. I didn't. It was more of this transactional, like, I give you this, you give me this, back and forth, back and forth. But it was this figure eight, making love energy between the two of us that I could feel, that I'd never felt before. It was exquisite. It made me sob my face off. The poor man, he was covered in all my snot. I was like crying so many happy tears. It was so beautiful. And then now I can do it. But in the beginning, when I first started to date him, I still couldn't. There was still hypervigilance in my body. I couldn't sleep beside him. I couldn't turn my body off. Now I have. Now that we've been together several more months. But in the beginning, I couldn't. And so I'd sleep in another room. I'd sleep on the couch, or etc. But I would come in the morning. And as more and more of this integration occurred, I would put my head on his chest in the morning, and I would melt in a way that I couldn't feel, where his chest ended and the universe began. It was like there was no gravity. And I wasn't on medicine. I wasn't drunk. This was like real time, real connection with a king, and feeling what true protection and honor and respect and being met and communing felt like. He is the universe. I am the universe. And we are 1 + 1 equals infinity, the universe. And so what's amazing is I finally not just helped others heal from their heartbreak, take up space with kindness and without apology, be brave in their authentic expressions and find home in their bodies, their minds, their hearts. Not only do I do this professionally as my job, I'm actually walking my talk for the first time, that I've actually become the one to find the one. And I'm actually awaking the one who's awaking this one. It's actually real. And so I find it curious that even though that was the slogan of Heartmates that is shut down, the dating app that I attempted, did my best with, but shut down, that was the slogan: become the one to find the one so you can awaken the one. But now I'm recording this in 2023. So in 2024, I'm going to be offering programs, amazing programs, a 7-week Become the One mastery program, Become the One. And then after that, I'm going to offer a 7-week program, Find the One, or Awaken the One you're with. And I'm so excited because I'm going to be the embodiment of this work. Yes, I'm going to include my 10 Allana Pratt method processes, which normally I don't give on online curriculum programs, normally only if you're coaching with me privately. But I'm going to take all of you through these processes that have worked for me so they can work for you, so that you can go from me to we, if that is what you choose, to awaken the one you're with or to find the one. And none of this will happen until we become the one. And so this is going to happen in 2024. So if you're not on my email list, which is where you're going to be receiving the early bird invitation, sign up for my newsletter. It's at allanapratt.com. It's down at the bottom of the page. You can sign up for the newsletter. And it's also where I provide videos that you don't get anywhere else. They're not on YouTube. They're just for people on my list. And they're even more vulnerable than this podcast. And you're first to know all the real-time workings of what's going on. And it's a privilege and pleasure to be so connected together. So that's one beautiful gift that you'll get being on the newsletter. And also you'll hear about these two programs, the Become the One and the Find the One or Awaken the One, which we will launch next year, 2024. And yet in the spirit of this podcast, vulnerability, I got to be honest, vulnerability, I needed more than just my 10 Allana Pratt method processes. I needed more than the incredible communities that I cultivate and create. I needed one-on work. I needed psychedelic somatic integration work. And you may be like me. You may have tried everything else. You may be a very successful coach or CEO or in your field, and you've tried everything. And the more you know that you ought not to do something, the more you're actually hating yourself that you can't change it. I get it. I couldn't change it either without support, without this unique modality. You may require a specific use of psychedelic medicine that is not the usual journey work. Usual journey work takes you out to tier 3, which is amazing. Oneness with the cosmos, incredible downloads and insights, absolutely knowing you are one with all. Everyone deserves that awareness and that embodiment. However, it does not heal trauma. Tier 1 heals trauma. So this unique use of psychedelic medicine that I take my clients through, that I've been taken through, keeps us in tier 1. All the disassociation, healing of that, and the healing of trauma occurs in the body with tier 1. So this is a unique use of psychedelic medicine. It is not journey work. And so you may require me holding space for you to feel with you and heal with you these deep wounds from not just this life, from other lives too, that are lodged and held in your body. And we will reclaim your fragmented parts. We will integrate all of the traumas all the way back to stillness, to 0 point. We will awaken your body, mind, heart, soul, spirit all together. We will awaken multidimensional being parts of you. Basically, like the title of this podcast, Badass Bravery and True Belonging. You will become the brave badass that you are destined to be, first with yourself, so that you can be the embodiment of becoming the one, so that you could be the resonance to walk right into the arms and find the one. It's not work. It's not trying. It's not attracting. You just are you, and they just are them. And you follow your inspiration. And you put one foot in front of the other, and they literally arise of their own accord. And you don't have to try to be good enough to keep them. You don't have to try to make them like you. You don't have to spin in your head and worry. You just get to be you. They get to be them. And together, you're better. And it's not like there aren't issues to work through. We're all still human. But there's a foundation that is unlike anything I've ever experienced. That's a sense of being home with yourself, home with them, and home together. I remember one client telling me after doing these, I call them PSI VIPs, psychedelic somatic integration, very important person, VIPs, weekends with me. She told me the most important moment of her life were the birth of her 2 daughters and the VIP weekend with me, because of the level of trauma and terror we integrated. Another client told me he literally felt reborn, rebirthed, and free of a 40-year addiction that had caused horrendous suffering in romantic relationships. Another client, after attempting to stop an unworkable drinking problem for well over a decade, after the weekend, stopped cold turkey and says, according to him, he doesn't even desire a drink. He feels so at home in his body, mind, and soul. And his kids say that he laughs at their jokes now. And his wife, I'm noticing, is resting into her feminine even more than she ever has, because he's even more solid, reliable, and dependable than ever. Another client had the courage to end a 20-year, basically sexless marriage after her VIP weekend with me. And another client felt through the integrated through unspeakable sobbing loneliness, emptiness. And yet it completed with her feeling a deep sense of inner secure attachment to herself, belonging to herself. And now she'd been dating a man on again, off again, on again, off again. So they're on again. And she's reporting that in the past, she used to be so anxious. Where's he going? Anxious attachment. It's gone. She's internally calm in her body with this secure attachment to herself, which is, of course, inviting him. Before she was anxious and he would leave. Now she's here and he's here. So I want you to know that all of these clients are amazing. They all are courageous. They all have beautiful hearts. They all have good intentions, but none of that solved this issue. I'm the same. I have courage. I have a beautiful heart. I have good intentions. Nope. Couldn't solve it. This way of using psychedelic medicine has been a game changer to sort of tip the scale into feeling through these unintegrated programs to align them in our hips, our soul, our heart, and awakening our divine mind. It's like the, what do they call it at Disneyland? The fast pass. It's like a fast pass. That's what it is, at least for me and for every single one of my clients that I work with. The issue for me and for my clients was that our bodies, not our minds, not our hearts, our bodies were holding unprocessed trauma that kept addictive behaviors running the show. It wasn't their mind. It wasn't their mindset. It wasn't their heart. It wasn't their beautiful heart. It was in their body, and their bodies had not been honored and trusted with the facilitation of me and the partnership of the psychedelic medicine to bring them home and process these wounds so they became whole. I want you to know, if I can do it and my clients can do it, you can do it. And I would be fucking stoked if somebody watching this or listening to this is like, oh, that's why I haven't been able to resolve this. I don't need to beat myself up at 3 a.m. and hate myself more year after year because I know better, but I can't change it. I would be so stoked if there are people out there watching this or listening to this like, oh yeah, okay, now, now, it's time. Life is too short, people, for us to continue this suffering when there actually is a solution. Walking through the dark night of the soul all the way home to the light with my clients is the most epic, exquisite, incalculable, priceless gift I could ever give someone. And it is such a profound honor. It's a gift that will keep on giving for the rest of your life. All of the old structures and circumstances and relationships built on the old program will no longer continue to create the suffering. They will fall. They will transform. They will leave so that something new can be rebirthed. Healthy relationships, thriving businesses, health and well-being. You aren't broken. The program is in the way. And this way of working with resolving trauma integrates programs and allows you to come home to who you are. So I believe that you know if this is a fit. You can feel my level of certainty, humility, vulnerability, and presence. And you know if it's time to dive in and do this work. You know if it's time to end the amount of self-hatred, self-loathing that you haven't been able to change it. Knock that shit off and start to integrate this so you can forgive yourself. I think that's the greatest gift of this, is the embodiment of self-forgiveness, self-compassion, mercy, all the way home to true oneness and wholeness with self. And know that I couldn't do this without help either. And so it is an act of a brave king, a brave queen who will ask for help for themselves, for their families, for their businesses, for humanity. And I want you to also understand this. Trauma occurs in relationship. And the healing of trauma occurs in relationship too. And that's why choosing an epic, integrous facilitator of extraordinary presence, like myself, is absolutely essential. And so I invite you, let's connect. I invite you to connect. I call it an intimacy breakthrough experience call. The The link is in the show notes. And there is a special link and a special scholarship just for people who spent this almost hour with me on intimate conversations. And I want you to know that after 2 divorces, 12-year custody battle, haven't talked to my son in 3.5 years. And the last boyfriend was pleaded guilty for criminal assault. You'd think I was just messed up beyond repair, right? Beyond help, beyond hope. Nope. I literally have finally become the one. I have found the one. He's amazing. I am awakening the one, and he is awakening me. And certainly we're not perfect, and we keep growing and we keep evolving together. And it's really happening, and it's possible, and it's possible for you. And so thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable today and show you how I've awakened my own badass bravery and how I've experienced true belonging in my body, in my skin, on the planet, in my vagina. I joke with them. I've attracted my supercock, the most extraordinary man I ever knew existed. And we're just getting started of what's possible in this whole mate, or as we say around here, heartmate partnership. And I desire this for you. So thank you for listening and for the honor of loving the shit out of you on Intimate Conversations. All my love. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. I'm so fucking happy. I love this cottage on the lake, 5 weeks, South Carolina, except for last night. Cockroach. Flying cockroach. Okay, back in Tokyo, when I was like 20, they were like maybe that big, and they flew, and I would, on the flights back and forth from Canada to Tokyo, you'd get those little bottles of alcohol, and I would like get as many as I could, and I put them in my purse because whenever it was time to like kill a cockroach, I would down a bottle of vodka, or a little airport thing, airline vodka thing. And then I get the Windex, and then I would spray the damn thing. It was like flying around. And then I would get like newspaper or whatever, and I would like, and it was splat everywhere. It was like my heart was beating, so I hated it. But like, there was no one to ask. I was living in this little apartment all by myself. It was so small that the bed, you had to push the button and the bed went up to the ceiling, and then the bed came down. And it was so small you couldn't close the bathroom door because my knees were too long. Just sit on the toilet. Anyways, good memories. So anyways, I met a cockroach last night. It died. But everything is just like flowing. Today is super windy. I went down to the dock to do the video, but it was too much wind. And my wonderful trainer, I'm super good now. I can read the wind, so I know whether I can go paddleboarding or not. And the wind is like really big today, so I changed my session around with my trainer. So we worked out today because I went paddleboarding on Wednesday instead. Anyways, all these little things that maybe you're just like, Allana, you're so weird. Why do you give a shit? I'm like, no, this is what brings me joy. Paddleboarding, no cockroaches, cabins. My boyfriend Scott, he calls this, because it's screened in, it's not the patio, it's the catio. Because Muffin can be like she'll look at the hummingbirds right here and the birds in that tree. The little squirrel comes up and looks at her and it like teases her, and she's just like, oh, you little. But anyway, it's the closest to outside she's had in a long time. She's 18 now. And as soon as she started to like do this to the rugs, thinking they were like a creature, I'm like, oh, baby girl, your eyes are going where I'm not going to put you outside and try to have you fend against nature. You know, back in the day when she was young, she would bring in mice and lizards and various creatures, birds, all the things. So now this is her, her catio. So thanks for watching that episode of vulnerability and sharing, you know, my journey to what it's taken to have this true belonging with myself, surrendering surrendering to the divine. There's just been so much trying to figure it out and gain clarity so I can be safe. And my God, I'm so grateful that I continue to do this work with my extraordinary coaches. And and even thank you for everything falling apart, because that's what I needed. Like, I'm stubborn. I just won't let it fall. I just won't let it go. If I commit to something, I follow through, and that's that. And I was just stubborn to a fault. I was still thinking I was in charge, rather than divinity in, as, and through me. And since, not that I'm there, but this next level of integration, knowing that everything is handled by the divine, that I can't fuck it up, that my job is to be embodied, and if I'm ever off and there's noise or something to integrate it, come back into my body. That's my job. So I be me, and that's a resonance, and who's enlivened by my resonance, the divinity in me enlivening the divinity in you, it's a match. And that's my man, Scott. And those are my incredible clients. And maybe that is you too. If there is something enlivened in you by watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, and the idea of bravery, belonging, and vulnerability is what you're ready for next, and you can sense that there's this place in you that knows better but can't seem to stop that pattern, and the self-hatred and self-loathing is actually growing, and the checking out and disassociating is growing, because what we resist will persist and grow over time. If you're like, oh, I'm ready, then I really look forward to connecting with you. There are links in the show notes of how we can do that. And I want you to know what a distinct honor and privilege it is to go into the darkness with you and walk with you every breath, every step, knowing, like, I know we will get to the other side. I don't hope, I don't believe, like, I know, like, I'm unwaveringly, I know. And I will have patience, kindness, and I'm unfuckwithable. I got you. And we can go anywhere we need to go to get you home. And it is a pleasure and privilege to be able to do that with you. So I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you for being on this journey with us. Intimacy. Into me, I see. Into you, I see. This delicious, exquisite connection that's possible, being exactly who you are. I love you with all my heart.